Judis. Thank you for coming to the Crossman Event Series here at UNC Chapel Hill. It's a pleasure to have you here. You were here before, a few years before, so it's great to have you here again. You have just published a book on the Nationalist Revival, both in Europe and in America. And tell us, why has there been a Nationalist Revival?
Well, there's nationalism and nationalism. We always have, to some degree, people feeling a national identity. But what we've had in the last 20 years or so is politics that is explicitly based on the idea of France first, America first, Italy first, Russia first. The UK should leave the EU. So we've had this kind of explicit nationalist politics. Most of it is based upon the sense that a country's identity is being challenged, and a lot of it's directed towards immigrants, asylum seekers. But the people who are most exercised about national identity are also the people who have been left behind by the global capitalism over the last 30 or 40 years. Small, medium-sized towns that once were based in manufacturing and mining, north of Paris, northeast England, the Midwest in the United States, and parts of the South. So it's a combination of those factors.
Thank you. That is all not very surprising. Couldn't that almost be expected when there are so many victims of globalization, of the banking crisis, of the Great Recession, that will have some repercussions that could be expected, couldn't it?
Yes, it could be expected. And, in 150 years ago, Marx and Engels might have hoped that it would start an international workers of the world movement, but it hasn't manifested itself that way. It's manifested itself more in a reassertion of the nation and the nation's culture.
Would you think that it's a transitionary phase which will peter out gradually, or will there be something like a much more strenuous revolt?
It's hard to say. We had this period of experimentation in the United States and Europe. It really begins with Thatcher and Reagan, then after the Cold War and the big boom of the 1990s, where we did a lot of things like the European Union adopting the Euro, the World Trade Organization, NAFTA, the idea that China was going to become a liberal capitalist democracy that was brought into the World Trade Organization. So we've had this kind of experimentation, and what's really happening is this kind of period of disintegration, where there's a revolt against it in the United States and also in Europe. So it's hard to see how it's going to play out in the end. In the past, to tell you the truth, a lot of this has resulted in wars, but we have nuclear weapons. The United States has this inordinate superiority, so I don't think it's going to, and I certainly hope it's not going to play out that way. And what we hope will happen will be that we will at some point realize that the destructive nature of a kind of purely competitive nationalism and to go back to a more reasonable form of internationalism that will work.
So how does foreign policy play into it? Do you think the domestic rise of nationalism and protectionism has also come about because America feels challenged in the world, feels that it is losing its primacy, that it is becoming much less important than it used to be so far?
Well, I think that has something to do with Trump's appeal. Americans are worried about that challenge of China, and particularly, again, Americans have lost their jobs in manufacturing and things like that, where we used to, Trump talks about made in the USA, where that used to go into a store and you would look for goods that were made in the USA, because not out of patriotism, but because they were better. That's gone, and people feel that loss. And again, I think when Trump says "Make America Great Again," that's part of the meaning of it.
I wonder if one can put it into perspective. After Watergate, also deep domestic crisis, you had a moralistic, straightforward, at least perceived to be very honest President Carter. After the Great Recession, you had a nationalist who intensified protectionism and was anti-globalization. So can that also not be just a reaction to a particular crisis in society which will pass after a few years, after one term?
Well, Watergate wasn't really Watergate did produce Carter. I think if Nixon hadn't had a kind of fatal political flaw, you would have had a Republican majority a lot sooner, and it would have taken the kind of nationalist form that it did under Reagan, because at the time of Nixon, that was when we abandoned Bretton Woods in 1971. It was the first year we had a trade deficit in the 20th century. So there was then a widespread feeling that the U.S. was losing out and we had to do something about it.
And the situation now is very different, you think?
I think we're in a continuation of that situation. I think there's a certain continuity between Reagan and Trump. They had the same slogan. The only difference was the word "let's." Reagan talked about "let's make America great again."
Okay, thank you. So speculate about the future. Do you see the current development, maybe with a different leader, but the current development, an increased nationalism, increased populism in the country, and an anti-globalization feeling, do you see that continue for a significant period of time?
Well, in the United States, the question for me is whether the Democrats will be able to develop a politics that speaks to what's genuine and legitimate about people's national fears, and to the what used to be the Democrats in Middle America. So really, what I would fear most is a kind of continuation of our politics as a culture war between the cosmopolitans of the metro areas and the nationalists of the small, mid-sized towns. So I think in 2020 we'll have to see. Trump is such an outsized figure that everything tends to be about him. And in a way that might be a diversion from the challenge that we face as a country. In the last election in 2018, what one would have expected with 3% unemployment is that the Republicans would have done pretty well, and they didn't. And the reason they didn't is I think a feeling of revulsion against Trump that isn't so much based on his policies, but on him.
Thank you. What about the transatlantic alliance? At the moment, the Europeans and the Americans seem to be drifting further and further apart. A feeling of the common endeavor, common belonging seems to be dissipating. Is that going to continue, or do you think that is also just a passing phase?
Well, I don't think the nationalism part is a passing phase at all in the United States, but Trump, with Europe and the United States, I think that, again, there was a real question that Trump was asking in his own way, which was, what's the point of NATO anymore? But instead of pursuing that, he made the question of contributing money, and Europe should contribute more. But I think that the underlying question is one that we still really have to answer. I think to answer it economically and militarily.
Perhaps value-wise and spiritually and philosophically, ideologically?
I think value-wise would be the easiest thing to answer. I think that there is a common value, and if we start to deny that, we're in big trouble.
John Judis, thank you very much for your insights, and everyone who wants to know more should really read your books, The Nationalist Revival. Thank you for coming to UNC Chapel.